Looking for the lonely road. Yum Yum?
I'll tell you. About a year ago, I was a member of the Titipu Town Band. It was my duty to take round the cap for contributions, and as I was discharging this delicate duty, I saw Yum Yum. We loved each other at once, but then I discovered that she was betrothed to Coco, a cheap tailor, and I saw then that my suit was hopeless. Overwhelmed with despair, I quitted the town. Judge of my delight when I discovered that Coco had been condemned to death for flirting. And so I have rushed back here in the vain hope of Yum Yum being able to listen to my protestations.
It is true that Coco was condemned to death for flirting, but he was retrieved at the last moment and raised to the exalted rank of Lord High Executioner under the following remarkable circumstances. Great Mikado virtues granted him to rule our land, began with sovereign pride, and went by young men like this be steady. So he decreed in words succinct that all who fluttered leered or winked, unless one knew reality, to faultless be beheaded, 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 to faultless be beheaded. And I expect you'll always see that he was right to so decree, and I am right and you are right and all is right as right can be. And you are right and we are right and all is right as right can be, and all is right as right can be. All is right can be. But equally affected. The youth of winter roving eye, your dreams are not unusual time. Thereupon condemned to die, usually objected, 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 usually objected. And you'll allow us, I expect that he was right to so object. And I am right and you were right and everything is quite correct. And you were right and we are right and everything is quite correct. And everything is quite correct. All is quite correct. So we straight set out on bail, a convict from the county jail, whose head was next on some pretext, condemn it to be mown off, and made him headsman, for we said, who's next to be decapitated, cannot cut off another's head until he's cut his own off, his own off, his own off, until he's cut his own off. I think you say to what you in this kind of way, and I am right and you are right and all is right till orale. And you are right and we are right and all is right till orale. And all is right and we are right.
Tailor, Lord High Executioner of Titipu. Why, that's the highest rank a citizen can attain.
It is. Our logical Mikado, seeing no moral difference between the dignified judge who condemns a criminal to die and the industrious mechanic who carries out this sentence, has rolled the 12 into one, and of every judge is his own executioner.
But how good of you, for I see you are a nobleman of the highest rank, to reveal this to me, a mere strolling minstrel.
Don't mention it. I am, in point of fact, a particularly haughty and exclusive person of free Adamite ancestral descent. You will understand this when I tell you that I can trace my ancestry back to protoplasmoprimordial atomic globules. Consequently, my family pride is something inconceivable. I can't help it. I was born sneering. But I try hard to overcome this defect. I mortify my pride continually. When all the great officers of state resigned in our body because they were too proud to serve under an ex-tailor, did I unhesitatingly accept all their posts at once.
And the salaries attached to them. You did.
It is consequently my degrading duty to serve this upstart as First Lord of the Treasury, Lord Chief Justice, Commander-in-Chief, Lord High Admiral, Groom of the Backstairs, Master of the Pot Crown, Archbishop of Titipu, both acting and elect. And at a salary of over paid for his services. I, a salaried minion, but I do it. It revolts me, but I do it.
And it does you credit.
But I don't stop at that. I go and dine with middle-class people on reasonable terms. I dance at cheap suburban parties. I accept refreshment from any hands, however lowly. I also retail state secrets for a very low figure. For instance, any further information about Yum Yum would come under the heading of state secrets. Another insult. Young man despair like wild goat too. Young despair, you must not go. It will not do. I'm sorry for you. You very well, big tableau. And round the song to wed the Lord High Executioner.
journeyed for a month or nearly to learn that yum-yum, whom I love so dearly. This day to Coco is to be united.
The fact appears to be as you've recited. But here he comes, equipped as to his station. He'll give you any further information.
Gentlemen, I am much touched by this reception. I can only trust that by a strict attention to duty, I shall ensure a continuance of those favours which it will ever be my study to deserve. I am happy to think that if I should ever be called upon to act professionally, there will be no difficulty in finding plenty of people whose loss will be a distinct gain to society at large.
As someday it may happen that a victim must be found, I've got a little list of society offenders who might well be underground and who never would be missed. There's the pestilential nuisances who write for autographs, all people who have flabby hands and irritating laughs, all children who are up in dates and floor you with them flat, all persons who in shaking hands shake hands with you like that, and all persons who on breaking tete-a-tetes insist they never would be missed. He's got them on a list.
He's got them on the list, and they'll none of them be missed. They'll not all them be missed.
There's the banjo serenader and others of his race, and the piano organist has got him on the list. All people who eat peppermint and have it in your face, they never would be missed, they never would be missed. Then the idiot who praises an enthusiastic tone, all centuries but this, and every country but his own. And the lady from the provinces who dresses like a guy, and doesn't think she dances, but rather likes to try. And that singular anomaly, the lady novelist, I'm sure she'd not be missed, I'm sure she'd not be missed.
He's got her on the list, he's got her on the list, and I don't think she'll be missed. I'm sure she'll not be missed.
And that nicely pliant nuisance who just now is rather right, the judicial humorist, I've got him on the list. All funny fellows, comic men and clowns of private life, they'd some never be missed, they'd none of them be missed. And apologetic statesmen of a compromising kind, such as, what you call him, Thingamabob, and likewise, never mind, and what's his name, and likewise, you know who. But the task of filling up the blank I'd rather leave to you. But it doesn't really matter who you put upon the list, for they'd none of them be missed. They'd none of them be missed.
You may put them on the list, you may put them on the list, and none of them be missed. They'll none of them be missed.
Hoorah! It seems that the ceremonies in connection with my approaching marriage must last a week. I should like to do it handsomely, and I want to consult you about how much I ought to spend upon it.
Certainly, in which of my capacities, as First Lord of the Treasury, Lord Chamberlain, Attorney General, Chancellor of the Exchequer, Privy Purser, Private Secretary.
Suppose we say as private secretary.
Speaking as a private secretary, I should say that the city will have to pay for it. Don't speak yourself, do it well.
As the city will have to pay for it. That is your advice?
As private secretary,
Of course you will understand that as Chancellor of the Exchequer, I am bound to see that due economy of the Blairs.
But you said just now, don't stitch yourself, do it well.
as private secretary,
Now you see that due economy must be observed.
As Chancellor of the Exchequer,
Come over here where the Chancellor can't hear us. Now, as my solicitor, how would you advise me to deal with this difficulty?
speaking as your solicitor, I should have no hesitation in saying, have it.
Thank you, I will.
if it were not that as Lord Chief Justice, I am bound to see that the law is violated.
Come over here where the Chief Justice can't hear us. Now, as First Lord of the Treasury,
As First Lord of the Treasury, I could propose a special vote that would cover all costs. If it were not that as leader of the opposition, I am bound to resist it tooth and nail.
Or as Paymaster General, I could so cook the account
That is, Lord High Auditor, I should never discover this fraud. But then, I myself over into my own custody as First Commissioner of Police.
I see, it's extremely awkward.
And don't say that all these distinguished people couldn't be square. But it is right to tell you that they would not be sufficiently degraded in their own estimation unless insulted by a very considerable bribe.
The matter shall have my careful consideration. My bride and her sisters approach, and any little compliment from you, such as an abject bravo, in a characteristic Japanese attitude, would be esteemed a favor.
No money, no ground.
Competent authority. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Take him away.
I beg your pardon, but what is this?
That is a tremendous swell.
Mr. Lawrence!
Go away, little girls. And talk to little girls like you. Go away, Elfield.
Allow me to present you Pooh-Bah. Pooh-Bah, these are my 3 wards. The one in the middle is my bride-elect.
What do you want me to do with them? Mind, I will not kiss them.
No, you needn't kiss them. Just a bow, a mere nothing. You needn't mean it, you know.
It goes against the grain. They are not young ladies. They are young persons.
Come, make an effort, the good noble man.
Well, I shan't read it. How do you mean, Oh, my dreadful ancestors. That's very good. I see nothing to laugh at. It is very painful for me to have to say, how did you to a young person, I am not in the habit of saying, how did you to anybody under the rank of a stockbroker.
Don't laugh at him. He can't help it. He's under treatment for it. Never mind them. They don't understand the delicacy of your position.
We know how delicate it is, don't we?
I should think we did. How a nobleman of your distinction can do it at all is something I never can, never shall understand.
So please very much regret that we have filled in empty chairs. So what not right so high, we shall not better by and by. But you better not have that thing so hard. And don't you girls have to bring me hard, not me hard, not me hard.
At last we are alone. I have sought you for the last 3 weeks in the vain hope of discovering that your guardian was beheaded. And now I discover that you are about to be married to him this afternoon.
Alas, yes.
But you do not love him.
Alas, no.
Then why do you not refuse him?
What good would that do? He's my guardian, and he wouldn't let me marry you.
But I would wait until you were of age.
You forget that in Japan, girls not arrive at years of discretion until they are 50.
True, from 17 to 49 are considered years of indiscretion.
Besides, a wandering minstrel who plays a wind instrument outside theaters is hardly a fitting husband for a ward of the Lord High Executioner.
Shall I tell her? Yes, she will not betray me. What if it should turn out that I am, in point of fact, no musician?
There, I was certain of it. Directly I had to play.
No. What if it should turn out that I am, in point of fact, none other than the son of His Majesty the Mikado?
The son of the Mikado. But why is your Highness aside? And what has your Highness done? And will your Highness promise never to again?
Some years ago, I had the misfortune to captivate Katisha, an elderly lady of my father's court. She misconstrued my customary affability for expressions of affection and claimed me in marriage under my father's law. My father, the Lucius Junius Brutus of his race, ordered me to marry her within a month or perish ignominiously on the scaffold. Overwhelmed with despair, I quitted the town. And disguised as a second trombone, joined the band in which you first saw me when I first had the pleasure of seeing you.
If you please, I think your Highness had better not come too close. The laws of propriety are excessively severe.
But we are quite alone and nobody can see us.
Besides, the flirt is capital,
It is capital.
and we must obey the law.
Oh, deuce take the law.
I wish it would, but it won't.
If it were not for the law, how happy we might be.
Happy indeed.
We might be sitting side by side, like this,
Instead of being obliged to half a mile like that.
gazing into one another's eyes, like that,
These eyes must have belonged. Like that.
with our arm around each other's waist, like that.
Yes, if it wasn't for the law.
If it wasn't for the law,
And that we couldn't do anything of the kind.
not for worlds,
Being engaged to Coco, you know.
being engaged to Coco. Why you not so Coco like that? I would say in tender tone, loved one, let us be united, let us be together grown. I would measure rank and station, earthly spheres are
how entirely my future happiness is tied up in that little parcel. It hardly seems worthwhile. Oh, matrimony. No, sir. Look at that. You have interrupted a soliloquy. You have interrupted an apostrophe. What is it?
I'm the bearer of a letter from His Majesty the Mikado.
A letter from His Majesty the Mikado? What in the world can he have to say to me? Aha, here it is at last. I knew it would come sooner or later. The Mikado is struck by the fact that no executions have taken place in Titipu for a year, and decrees that unless someone is beheaded within a month, the post of Lord High Executioner will be abolished, and the city reduced to the rank of a village.
But that would involve us all in irretrievable ruin.
There's only one thing to be done. I shall have to execute someone at once. The only question is, who shall it be?
Well, it seems unkind to say so, but as you are already under sentence of death for flirting, everything seems to point to you.
To me? What do you mean? I can't execute myself.
Why not?
Because in the first place, self-decapitation is an extremely difficult, not to say dangerous thing to attempt. And in the second, it's suicide, and suicide is a capital offence.
That is so, no doubt.
We might reserve that point.
True, it could be argued 6 months hence before the full court.
Besides, I don't see how a man can cut off his own head.
A man might try.
Even if you only succeed in cutting half off, that would be something.
It would be seen as an earnest of your desire to comply with the imperial will.
No. On this point I am adamant. My reputation is at stake. As official executioner, I can't undertake to embark on any professional operation unless I can see my way clear to a successful result.
This professional conscientiousness is highly credible to you, but it places us in a very awkward position.
The awkwardness of your position is a grace itself, compared with that of a man engaged in the act of cutting off his own head.
I'm afraid that, unless you can obtain a substitute...
Substitute? Certainly. Nothing easier. Hoorah, I hereby appoint you Lord High Substitute.
I should be delighted. Such an appointment would be like my fondest dreams. But no, at any sacrifice, I must advance to my insatiable ambition. I am so proud if I allow my family pride to be my guide. I volunteer to disappear instead of you in a minute or two. But family pride must be denied and set aside and mortified and mortified. My brain it teems with endless schemes both good and new. But if I glitch the benefits that I diffuse, the tongue will lose. Now every man to aid his clan should plot and plan as best he can.
I heard one day a gentleman say that criminals who was constant to can hardly feel the trains will feel, and so was slain a slave with causeless pain. If this is true, it's jolly for you, your God is true, so better than you.
ready to go. Get recollects well disrespected, I neglect to thus effect is indirect. So I object, and so though I wish to grace the fine and brightly shine and take the line of a hero fine with fame condign, I must decline.
And go and show both friends and foe how much you dare, and quite do well. It's your affair, yet I declare I take your shift, I don't much care.
I'm only glad, 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 I'm only glad. Lord, to the gold, Jimmy, on a big black cloud. The sickness of dwelling in a dull dark room, and I went to prison with a lifelong gone. A great big disputation from a shop, Well, Jimmy, on a big black cloud. The lifelong gone, a short, a big black cloud. The sickness of dwelling in a desolate room, and a wicked disputation from a Jimmy, on a big black cloud. Appalling! I, who was respited at the last moment in order to benefit my native city, am now required to die within a month, and that by a man whom I have heaped with honors. Is this public gratitude? Is that... Now then, sir, am I never to be permitted to soliloquize? What are you going to do with that rope?
I am about to terminate an unendurable existence.
Terminate your existence now?
Because you are about to marry the girl I adore.
Nonsense, sir, I won't permit it. I'm a humane man. And if you persist in this, I shall order your instant arrest.
Very well. If you attempt to raise an alarm, I shall simply perform a happy dispatch with this dagger.
Oh, that is horrible. Why, you scoundrel! Do you realize that suicide is a crime? Substitute.
What's the matter?
Are you entirely resolved to die?
Absolutely.
Will nothing shake your resolution?
Nothing.
Threats, entreaties, prayers, all useless?
All useless. My mind is made up.
Then if you really mean what you say, and if you are entirely resolved to die, and if nothing will shake your resolution, don't spoil yourself by committing suicide. But be beheaded handsomely at the hands of the public executioner.
But I don't see how that's going to benefit me.
Look, observe. You have a month to live, and you'll live like a fighting cock at my expense. Then when the great day comes, there'll be a grand ceremonial. You'll be the central figure. No one will attempt to deprive you of that distinction. There'll be a procession, bands playing, bells tolling, dead march, all the girls in tears, young, distracted. And then in the evening, when it's all over, a general rejoicing and a display of fireworks. You won't see them, of course, but they'll be there just the same.
Do you really think Yum would be distracted at my death?
I'm certain of it. Why, she's the most tender-hearted little creature alive.
Yes, I should hate to cause her pain, but perhaps if I were to withdraw from Japan and travel Europe for a couple of years, I might contrive to forget her.
No, I don't think you'd succeed in forgetting Yum as easily as all that.
True.
Life without Yum? Why, it seems absurd.
It does seem absurd, but there are a good many people who have to endure such things.
Yes, poor fellows. You are quite right not to be of their number.
I won't be of their number.
Noble fellow.
I'll tell you what we'll do. You let me marry Yum within the month, and then you may behead me.
No. I draw the line at Yum.
Very well, if you can draw the line, so can I.
But be reasonable, reasonable. How can you marry her? I'm going to marry her myself.
My good fellow, she'll be a widow in a month. You can marry her then.
Yes, well, there is that. But my position during that month is going to be most unpleasant. Most unpleasant.
Not half as unpleasant as mine at the end of it.
Well, all right then, it's only for a month, but you won't prejudice her against me, will you? You see, she's been educated to be my wife. She's been taught to think of me as a wise and good man, and I shouldn't like her views on that point to be disturbed.
Trust me, she shall never learn the truth from me. Oh.
Congratulate me, gentlemen, I found a volunteer. His Nanky Poo. I think he'll do. Yes, he'll do. He heals his life if I'll young surrender. Now I adore that girl with passion tender, and would not yield her with a ready will. For her a lot, if I did not adore myself with passion tender still, with passion tender still. I guess he loves himself with passion tender still. Take her, not you, silly. She's yours.
The threatened cloud has passed away, as though the night may come too soon. Then let the throng of joy advance with laughing songs.
Shall we come once again? You'll say the Christmas morning.
be poor, but as one wants to have to live a fellow citizen. This post with these I pray will give long long life to you, long life to you, long life to you. Give me my place, O rash, O face. Thy heart and thine, give me my place, O blind, O rash, O face. Thy heart and thine, give me my place. Give thy bride, restore her place, O fool, O blind, O rash, O face. Painted that rulers where wisdom fails, bright eye that rulers heroic care, rose lip that scorn is scarlet in years, smooth tongue that warm is politely hears. Thy dome is nigh, pink cheek, bright eye, thy knell is rum, rose lip, smooth tongue. Thy dome is nigh, thy knell is rung, pink cheek, bright eye, rose lips, smooth tongue. Thy dome is nigh, thy knell is rung. Thy knell is rung, pink cheek, bright eye, rose lips, smooth tongue. Thy dome, thy knell is rung, is nigh.
fight was won, this insult you shall know. And beg for mercy, on your knees you sue. I'll tear the mask from your disguise.
Now comes the blow.
Prepare yourself for no surprises.
Oh, while my foe.
No minstrel he, despite bravado. He is the son of your of the tornado. He is the only son of your fire! Don't take a battle. He is the son of my vengeance, cause your eyes triumphant overall.
You hear the war is over, come to joy, be sore, despite yourself. The echoes of our destiny cause your eyes triumphant overall.
Prepare for going, oh dear Lord, at once I go, Mikado.
Away you go, let your heart proclaim your woe. In this old God, we do not heed the dismal song.
For joy reigns everywhere around.
We do not heed the dismal song. For joy reigns everywhere around.
The echoes of our destiny shall rise triumphant over all. Shall rise
My Lord with vengeance shall be crowned.
Colors come on, Majesty, glory in the heights, wealthy comes the pretty cry. Majesty, mighty high, wealthy comes the pretty cry. Yes, I am indeed beautiful. Sometimes I sit and wonder in my artless Japanese ways why it is that I am so much more beautiful than anybody Nature is lovely and rejoices in her loveliness. I am a child of nature and take after my mother.
In all but perfection? Well, dear, it can't be denied that the fact that your husband is beheaded in a month is, in its way, a drawback. It does seem to take the top off it, you know.
I don't know about that. It all depends.
At all events, he will find it a drawback.
Not necessarily. Bless you, it all depends. I think it's very indelicate of you to refer to such a subject on such a day if my married happiness is to be
Cut short.
well, cut short in a month. I thought you let me forget it.
Yum yum in tears and on her wedding morn.
They've been reminding me that in a month you should be behind.
How some bridegrooms would be depressed by this sort of thing. A month? Why, what's in a month? These divisions of time are purely arbitrary. Who says 24 hours make a day?
The popular expression to that effect.
Then we'll efface it. We'll call each second a minute, each minute an hour, each hour a day, each day a month, each month a year. About that rate, we've about 30 years of married happiness before us.
And at that rate, this interview has already lasted 4 hours and 3/4.
Yes. How time flies when one is thoroughly enjoying oneself.
That's the way to look at it. There's a silver lining to every cloud.
By all means. Enjoy yourself.
Quite ridiculous. Brightly dance our wedding day.
Joyous are we, bring me greeting, with our wrath of meeting. Fickle moment, pray this day. Fickle moment, pray this day.
What the mortal joys we follow.
Better come if sorrows follow. Golden tocsin sound their long. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. Yet until the shadows fall, sooner or later over all.
Sing a merry madrigal.
Sing a merry madrigal, sing a merry madrigal. La 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 Though the earth are surely creeping, little leaf on woeful weeping, till the sad sundown is near, till the sad sundown is near.
On us sits the cup of sorrow.
I today and tomorrow, this the close of every song. Ding dong, close of every song. This the close of every song. Ding dong, ding dong. Yet until the shadows fall, sooner or later over all.
Sing a merry madrigal.
Sing a merry madrigal, sing a merry madrigal. La 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 la
Go on, don't mind me.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I'm afraid we're distressing you.
No, I must get used to it. Only please, do it by degrees. Begin by placing your arm about her waist. There, let me get used to that first. Now, oblige me by allowing her head to rest upon your shoulder. Like that. I'm very much obliged to you.
Oh, wouldn't you like to retire? It must pain you to see us so affectionate together.
No, I must learn to bear it. Now, kiss her.
After all, it's only for a month.
My child. My poor child. How shall I tell her? How shall I break it to her? My little bride that was to have been.
What, Robbie?
You never can be mine.
I'm so glad.
I've just ascertained that by the Mikado's law, when a married man is beheaded, his wife is buried alive.
Buried alive?
Buried alive. It's a most unpleasant death.
But where did you get that from?
Oh, from Tuba. He's my solicitor.
But he may be mistaken.
So I thought. So I consulted the Attorney General, the Lord High Admiral, the Commander of the Fleet, the Master of the Rolls, the Lord Chancellor. They're all of the same opinion. Never knew such unanimity on a point of law in all my life.
But stop a bit, that law has never been put in force.
Not yet. You see, flirting is the only crime punishable by decapitation. And married men never flirt.
Of course not. I quite forgot that. Does that mean that my dream of happiness is at an end?
Darling, I don't want to appear selfish, and I love you with all my heart. I don't suppose I shall ever love anybody half as much. But when I agreed to marry you, darling, I had no idea, yet, that I should be buried alive and alone.
Nor I. It's the very first I've heard of it.
It makes a difference, doesn't it?
It does make a difference, of course.
You see, buried alive is such a stuffy death.
I call it a beast of a death.
It makes a difference, doesn't it?
It does make a difference, of course.
You see my difficulty?
Yes, and I see mine. If I encourage you to fulfill and carry out your promise, I condemn you to a hideous death. And if I release you, you marry Coco at once.
Here's how we do, if I marry you. When your time has come to perish, then the maiden whom you cherish must be slaughtered too. Here's how we do, here's how we do.
Here's a pretty mess, in a month or less. I must die without a wedding, let the bitter tears I'm shedding witness my distress. Here's a pretty mess, here's a pretty mess. Here's a state of things, to her life she clings. Matrimonial devotion doesn't seem to suit her notion, burial it brings. Here's the state of things, here's the state of things. With a passion that's intense of worship and adore, but the love of common sense we oughtn't to ignore. If one is said is true, she's dead to marry you. Here's a pretty state of things, here's a pretty howdy-do. Here's a pretty state of things, a pretty state of things.
Here's how we do.
Here's a howdy-do. For if what he says is true, I cannot marry you. Here's a pretty, pretty state of things. Here's a pretty howdy-do.
Dear fellow, I am very sorry for you.
Thanks, old chap. I'm sure you are.
You see, I'm quite helpless.
Yes, I can quite see that.
I can't conceive of anything more distressing than to have one's marriage broken off at the last moment. But never mind, you shan't be disappointed at a wedding. You shall come to mine.
Thanks very much, but that's impossible.
Why so?
Today I die.
What do you mean?
I cannot live without Yum Yum. This afternoon I perform the Happy Dispatch.
Oh, I can't permit that.
What do you mean?
My dear fellow, you're under contract to die by the hand of the public executioner. Why, if you commit suicide, what's to become of me? I shall be executed in your place.
Yes, I can quite see that.
Now then, Longmere, what is it?
The Mikado and his fleet are approaching us today. We're here in 10 minutes.
He's coming to see if his orders have been carried out. Now look, this is getting serious. A bargain's a bargain. You can't frustrate the ends of justice by committing suicide. As a man of honour and a gentleman, you are bound to die ignominiously by the hand of the public executioner.
Very well, then. Behead me.
What, now?
Certainly, at once.
Throw it off! Throw it off! My dear sir, I don't go about prepared to execute gentlemen at a moment's notice. I don't know how it's done. I'm going to take lessons. I mean to begin with a guinea pig and work my way through the animal kingdom until I come to second trombone. Why, you don't imagine that if I had thought when I took on the job of public executioner that the duties were anything other than nominal, I'd have taken it on at all. Why, I've never even killed a blue mortal.
Lord High Executioner.
As Lord High Executioner, I have to execute him in a month. I'm not ready yet. I can't kill you. I can't kill anything. I can't kill anybody.
Come, old fellow. We all have unpleasant things to do from time to time. There's a good chap. Now remember, it's got to be done if I don't mind. Why should you? It's got to be done.
Has it? I'm not so sure about that.
What do you mean?
Why should I execute you if making an affidavit that you've been beheaded will do just as well? Here are plenty of witnesses. The Attorney General, Lord High Admiral, Commander of the Fleet, Secretary of State for the Home Department, Justice of the Peace, and the Lord Chancellor. They'll all swear to it.
But where are they?
There they are. You'll all swear to it, won't you?
Have I to understand that all as high officers of state are required to perjure ourselves to ensure your safety?
Why not? You will be grossly insulted as usual.
Will the insult be passed down on utter tape?
It will be a ready money transaction.
Very good. Choose your fiction and I'll endorse it. Ha-ha, funny pride, how do you like that one, never?
But I tell you that life without Yum-Yum...
Yum, 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 yum. Bother Yum Yum. Commissioner, go and fetch Yum Yum. Take Yum Yum and marry Yum Yum and go away and never come back again. Yum Yum, are you particularly busy?
Not particularly.
You've got 5 minutes to spare.
Yes?
Well, run along with His Grace the Archbishop of Titipu and he'll marry you at once.
But if I'm to be very...
Never mind that. Run along and Nancy will answer all your questions.
One moment.
No, well, the Mikado is coming, and if he finds you still alive, I shall have the greatest difficulty in persuading him that I beheaded you. That was a close thing.
only God's one, to his daughter-in-law elect.
My morals have been declared particularly correct,
But they're nothing at all compared with those of his daughter-in-law elect. Bow, bow to his daughter-in-law
fatherly kind of way I govern each tribe and sect, all cheerfully on my sway.
Except his daughter-in-law elect, as tough as a boot with a will-run is his daughter-in-law elect.
My nature is love and life, my freedom from all defect.
It's insignificant quite compared to your daughter-in-law elect. Bow, bow to your daughter-in-law
Mikado never did in Japan exist. To know this second, I'm certainly reckoned a true philanthropist. It is my very humane endeavor to make to some extent each evil liver a running river of harmless merriment. My object all sublime I shall achieve in time, to let the punishment fits the crime, the punishment fits the crime, and make his prisoner pant, unwillingly represent a source of innocent merriment, of innocent merriment. Although without society's sinners to chatter and bleat and bore, our senses stem from mystical gems to peace from sensual bore. The amateur tenor whose vocal villain is all desire to shirk, shall during off hours exhibit his powers to madden to swords waxworks. The lady who dyes a chemical yellow or stains the grey her puce, or pinches her figure is tainted with vigour and permanent walnut juice. The idiot who on railway carriages scribbles on window panes, we only suffer to ride on a buffer in parliamentary trains. My object's all sublime I shall achieve in time, to let the punishment fits the crime, the punishment fits the crime, and make his prisoner pants unwillingly represent a source of innocent merriment, of innocent merriment. His object all sublime he will achieve in time, to let the punishment fit the crime, the punishment fits the crime, and make his prisoner pants unwillingly represent a source of innocent merriment, of innocent merriment. The advertising quack who plays with tales of countless cures, his two-legged actor shall all be excited by terrified amateurs. The musical singer attends a series of masses and fugues and ups, by Bach and Verhoeven with Spohr and Beethoven and classical Monday pops. The billiard sharp whom anyone catches is doomed extremely hard. He's made to dwell in a dungeon cell on a spot that's always barred, and there he plays extravagant matches and fiddler's finger stalls on a cloth and throw with a twisted cue and elliptical billiard balls. My object all survive, I shall
honoured to be permitted to welcome your Majesty. I guess the reason for your Majesty's visit. Your orders have been carried out. The execution has taken place.
So you've had an execution, have you?
Yes, the coroner has just handed me his certificate.
I am the coroner.
And this is a certificate of his death. At Titipo, in the presence of the Lord Chancellor, Lord Chief Justice, Attorney General, Secretary of State for the Home Department, Lord Mayor, and Groom of the Second Forefront.
They were all present, Your Majesty. I counted them myself.
Very good house. I wish I'd been in time for the performance.
A tough fellow he was too, a man of gigantic strength. His struggles were terrific. It was really a remarkable scene.
Describe it.
The criminal cried as he dropped him down in a state of wild alarm. With a frightful, frantic, fearful frown, I bared my big right arm. I seized him by his little pigtail, as on his knees fell he. As he squirmed and struggled and gurgled and guggled, I drew my Snickers knee, my Snickers knee. Oh, never shall I forget the cry or the shriek that shrieked he, as I gnashed my teeth when from its sheath I drew my Snickers knee.
To the throne of Japan, bolted from our imperial court.
Indeed? Had he any reason to be dissatisfied with his position?
None whatever. On the contrary, I was going to marry him.
Yet he fled. I was surprised that he should have fled from one so lovely.
That's not so.
No.
You hold that I am not useful because my face is plain. But you know nothing. You are still
enlightened, and learn then that it is not in the face alone that beauty is to be sought. My face is unattractive.
It is.
But I have a left shoulder blade that is a miracle of loveliness. People come from miles to see it. And a right elbow with a fascination that no can resist.
Allow me.
It is on your Thursdays and Fridays, on presentation of visiting cards. As for my circulation, it is the largest in the world.
And yet he fled.
Yes, and there's now masquerading in this town disguised as a second trombone.
A second trombone?
Yes. Would it be troubling you too much if we asked to produce him? He goes by the name of Mikado. Mikado.
Yes, it's very easy. That is to say, it's extremely difficult. He's gone abroad.
Gone abroad? His address?
Green Hill Gardens, Edinburgh.
What's the matter?
Oh, where shall I find another?
Dear. This is very tiresome. My poor fellow, in your anxiety to carry out my wishes, you have beheaded the heir to the throne of Japan.
I beg to offer an unqualified apology. I renounce to associate myself with an expression of regret.
We really hadn't the least notion.
Of course you hadn't. How could you? Come, my good fellow. Don't distress yourself. If a man of exalted rank chooses to disguise himself as a second trombone, he must take the consequences. It really distresses me to see you take on so. I've no doubt he thoroughly deserved all he got.
We are infinitely obliged to you, ma'am.
Much obliged, Your Majesty.
Very much obliged, Your Majesty.
Obliged? Not a bit. How could you tell?
No, we couldn't tell if the gentleman really was.
It wasn't written in his forehead.
It might have been written on his pocket handkerchief, but the Japanese don't use pocket handkerchiefs.
I forget the punishment for compassing the death of the heir apparent.
Punishment?
Yes, something lingering with boiling oil in it, I fancy. Something of that sort. I think boiling oil occurs in it, but I'm not sure. I know it's something humorous, but lingering with boiling oil or melted lead. Come, don't fret. I'm not a bit angry.
If Your Majesty will accept our assurances.
Of course.
I knew nothing about it.
I want to know.
That's the pathetic part of it. Unfortunately, the Sullivan Act says, compassing the death of the heir apparent. There's not a word about a mistake.
No.
Or not knowing.
No.
Or not having a notion.
No.
Or not being there.
No.
There should be, of course.
No.
But there isn't.
No.
That's the slovenly way in which these acts are all. However, cheer up. It'll be all right. I'll have it altered. Next session. Now, let's see about your execution. Well, after supper, Sucho. Can you wait till then?
Yes. You can wait till then.
Good. Then we'll make it after supper.
I don't want any supper.
Me neither.
I'm really very sorry for you all, but it's an unjust world, and virtue is only triumphant in theatrical performances. See how the fates their gifts allot, for A is happy, B is not, yet B is worthy, I dare say, of more prosperity than A.
Leave me worthy.
Should say he's worth a great deal more than A.
ha ha, make the coffee ha ha ha. When a joyous evergreen, happy undeserving day. And a joyous evergreen, happy undeserving If I were fortune which I'm not, we should enjoy with happy lot, and ever die in misery, and in a gloomy calamity. But should they perish, that should be, of course, assuming I am here. We should be happy, oh so happy, laughing, ha ha, jumping, ha ha, like the coffee, ha ha ha. But condemned to die is he, wretched meritorious be he. But condemned to die is he, wretched meritorious be
You've got us into, with your nodding heads and your deference due to a man of pedigree. Merely corroborative details intended to give artistic verisimilitude to an otherwise bald and unconvincing narrative.
Corrupted detail indeed.
And you're just as bad as he is, with your whistling an air and catching your eye. But that's you. You will put in your oar.
What about throwing your big right arm?
And just lick just knee.
Well, don't let's worry about that. There's only one thing to be done. Nanki Poo hasn't left yet. He must come to life immediately.
Nanki Poo, I've good news for you. You're reprieved.
Oh, you're too late. I'm a dead man, and I'm off on my honeymoon.
No. It seems you're the son of the Mikado.
Oh, yes, but that happened some time ago.
Is this a time for early persiflage? Your father is here, and he's asking for you, and with Katisha.
My father? And with Katisha?
Yes, she wants you most particularly.
But he's a married man now.
Oh, Nicky, what has that got to do with it?
Katisha claims me in marriage. But I'm married already, and I can't marry her. And if I'm married already, she will claim my execution. But if I'm executed, my wife will be buried alive.
I don't know what's to be done.
There is one chance for you. If you can persuade Katisha to marry you, she will have no further claim on me. And consequently, I can come to life without any fear of having been put to death.
I'm married, Katisha.
I really think it's the only course.
My dear girl, have you seen her? She's something appalling.
And with that all in her face, she's got a left shoulder blade that she will have to
And shoulder to right elbow is much about like Bannister.
My dear sir, I decline to pin my heart to any woman's right elbow.
Well, it comes to this. While Katisha is single, I prefer to remain a disembodied spirit. When Katisha is married, existence will be as welcome as the flowers of spring. The flowers that bloom in the spring, tra-la, with promise of merry sunshine. As they merrily dance and we sing, tra-la, we welcome the hope that they bring, tra-la, of a summer of roses and wine, of a summer of roses and wine. And that's what we say when we mean that a thing is welcome as flowers that bloom in the spring. Tra-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la, the flowers that bloom in the spring.
Flowers that bloom in the spring, tra-la, have nothing to do with the case. But I've got to take under my wing, tra-la, the most
attractive old thing that with a caricature of a face, big bad caricature of a face. And that's what I mean when I say all I say. Oh, bother the flowers that bloom in the spring. Tra-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la. Oh, bother the flowers of spring.
Alone and yet alive. Oh, sepulchre, my soul is still my body's prisoner. Remote the peace that death alone can give. My doom to wait, my punishment to live. They sting and dig for old love's sake, but do not die. Though with each breath they long for death, to witnesseth the living eye, the living eye. Oh, living eye, come tell me why, when hope is gone, thou stay on. Why linger here where all is clear? Oh, living eye, come tell me why, when hope is gone, dost thou stay on? May not a cheated maiden die, may not a cheated maiden die.
Rob your mind up, such vengeance pursues. They are hitting the cauldron.
Katusha, behold us suppliant at your feet. Katusha, mercy.
Mercy? Had you mercy on him? See here, you have slain my love. He did not love me, but he would have loved me in time. I am an acquired taste. Only the educated palate can appreciate me. I was educating his palate when he left me. But now he is dead, and where shall I find another? It takes years to train a man to love me. Am I to go through the weary round again, and at the same time implore mercy for you, who robbed me of my prey? I mean my pupil, just at the point of the completion of his education. Oh, where shall I find another? Here!
Katusha, for years I have loved you with a white-hot passion, which is slowly but surely consuming my very vitals. Drink not from me. If there is anything of womanly mercy in your heart, come not from a suppliant whose heavy fibre thrills at your tiniest touch. True it is that under a mask of disgust I've attempted to conceal this fire, which is now embroiling the very soul within me. But the fire burst forth almost strongly for its long restraint. It will not be smothered. It expresses itself in words which cannot be schooled, which should not be too severely criticized. Katusha, darling.
You, whose hands so leaked with the blood of my betrothed, dare to address words of passion to the woman who has so foully wronged.
Katusha, Accept my love or I perish on the spot.
Goto, who knows as well as I that no one yet died of a broken heart?
You know not what you say. Listen. On a tree by a river, a little pumpkin sang willow, willow, willow. And I said to him, Beekeeper, why do you sit singing willow, willow, willow? Is it weakness of intellect, birdie, I cry, or a rough, tough worm in your little inside? With a shake of his poor little head, he replied, oh, willow, it willow, it willow. He slapped at his chest as he sat on that bough, willow, and the cold perspiration bespangled his brow. Then he sobbed and he sighed, and a gurgle he did, and he plunged himself into the billowing wind. And an echo arose from the suicide grave. Oh, now I'm sure, just as sure as I'm sure that my name isn't Willow, it's Willow, it's Willow. That was the light without affliction that made him exclaim, oh Willow, it's Willow, it's Willow. And if you remain callous and obdurate, I shall perish as he did, and you will know why. Though I probably shall not exclaim as I die, oh, willow, it willow, it willow.
Did he really die of love?
He really did.
Oh, that kind of a cruel little head.
Yes,
Oh, poor little chap.
it's an affecting tale, but quite true. I knew the bird intimately.
Did you? He must have been very fond of her.
His devotion was something extraordinary.
And I feel sure. Will you go and do the same?
Oh, what?
Oh, no, you mustn't. Anything but that. Oh, I am a silly little girl.
You are?
And you won't take me just because I'm a teeny, weeny, wee bit bloodthirsty.
Hate you? Why, Cassius are not beauty, even in bloodthirstiness.
My idea is exactly.
I love to see a tiger from the conga of the Niger, and especially when dashing on the stage.
There's nothing that's significant in falling on the flight of thunder.
Yes, in spite of all my neatness, if I have a little weakness, it's a passion for a flight of thunderbolts. If that is so must say your elderly enough. Information I'm requesting on the subject instrument is a maiden all the better when she's tough. Enough to marry, do you think? Won't we wait until you're 80 in the shade? There's a fascination frantic in a ruin that's romantic. Do you think you are sufficiently decayed?
So the matter that you mentioned, I have given some attention, and I think I am sufficiently decayed. If that is so.
Now then, we've had a capital supper, and we're quite ready. Have all the painful preparations been made?
Your Majesty, all is prepared.
Then produce the unfortunate gentleman with his two well-meaning but misguided accomplices.
My husband that was Martin is dead, and I have just married this miserable object.
You've not been long about it.
We were married by the registrar.
I am the registrar.
I see, but my difficulty is that as you're slain the heir apparent...
The heir apparent is not slain.
Bless my heart. My son.
And your daughter-in-law elected.
You have deceived me! Yes, you're entitled to a little explanation. But I think you'll give it better whole than in pieces.
Your Majesty, it is true that I did state that I had executed the heir apparent.
Yes, with most affecting particulars.
Merely corroborative detail intended to give artistic verisimilitude and otherwise spoil an unconvincing narrative.
You see, Your Majesty's word is law. When Your Majesty says a thing is to be done, practically speaking, it is done. It's as good as done. When Your Majesty tells off a gentleman to be executed, that gentleman is told off to be executed. Practically speaking, he is executed. He's as good as dead. And if he is dead, why not say so?
I see. Nothing could possibly be more... more satisfactory.
I pray you be dumb. Your notions of many are not worth a penny. The word for your guidance is mum. You've a very good bargain in me.
Fish,
everyone is due a very sincere vote of thanks for the enjoyment which they have given to us all and the enjoyment which they have shown in performing the Mikado. Really, but I have a housekeeper and will As His Lordship the Bishop said last night, a power of work has gone into this performance at all levels. We thank most sincerely those responsible for the magnificent stage and all the work thereon. Father Brannigan did the basic work, and Sister Veronica, with two very enthusiastic helpers, in particular Mark Convery and Paul Docherty, put all of the finishing touches to it. I thank Sister... Father Johnson has always been very strict with his deadlines. And at one time it was it was suggested that Sister Veronica be dressed in a kimono and go round during the first act to have everything ready for the second act. But I thank her most sincerely. The costumes, many compliments have been paid and much praise given to the beautiful costumes which you see this evening. Mr. Keir recognised many of them from the dining room, from the sitting room. Thank you, Liz, for your dedicated work. I happened to be down in Edinburgh one day and Father Johnson was with me. We met Sister Alico in her convent and I said, "Oh, Sister's quite a good sewer." Immediately she was signed on. We spent long hours, day and night, sewing costumes. We thank Sister from Edinburgh most sincerely and we are delighted that she's managed to come here to be with us. Have a close look at some of the blues and Sister's veil, and you realise why the little company of Mary are going around Edinburgh balls to tell our own Sister Stanislaus, I won't say that she's neglected us, but with one arm she has managed to accomplish wonders too in the field of sewing. Sister fell just a few weeks ago after a late night in the convent. She has worked wonders also. As has my housekeeper, the Archbishop-elect's housekeeper, Miss Deegan. Where's Rita? Oh, Rita. Now that the operette is finished, perhaps I might be made a little more presentable. Thank you most sincerely. As with regard to the actual performance itself, I know that Sheila and her husband have given many hours of work and preparation, and it's not easy always when one has a young family, but Sheila has given dedicated hours to coming here to rehearsing with the boys, not just during class time, but afternoon time and evening time, and her dedication, I think, has been an example to all of us. So thank you very, very much. Really, I think under her direction and guidance and that of Father Johnson, the whole orchestra has been terrific. I don't know very much about music. Perhaps I'm too humble, but really, I would like those of you who do know a little about music to realise that that was the full D'Oyly Carte score which the orchestra were playing. It wasn't just a simplified version, and I had to pay for it. I let you know that. It was the full score which they were playing, so thank you all members of the orchestra most sincerely. The whole cast has been absolutely terrific. And I think really the work of the priests on stage and behind stage, along with the boys, really is something of which we here at Blairs can be very, very proud of. The way members of staff, lay members of staff, priest members of staff, and the students just do get on well together. Last night, the bishop mentioned one man in particular, and I repeat my particular vote of thanks and ask you to share in it our thanks to a priest, Father Moran, who stepped in literally at the last moment because of the illness of Father Hill. about 2 weeks ago, wasn't it? Yes, Father was beginning to perspire even more 2 weeks ago when we heard his father just wasn't well enough to take his part. And Father Moran, as I say, stepped in. And I don't know how he survived. He celebrated his Silver Jubilee just last year. He had his parish garden fest a week ago. He's been running his parish. He was distressed yesterday because he had to go out and trim the hedge. And despite all of that, he has put up a magnificent performance and been thrown around the stage by our students. Thank you very much. Everyone else, priests and students, from Roddy in fifth form right down to our juniors in first year. They really worked terrifically hard and put on a magnificent performance which you've all thoroughly enjoyed. To all of the cast, a very, very sincere thanks. Tentatively, way back in September, that I did suggest that we should have another musical performance at this time of the year. Father Johnson hesitatingly agreed, but since agreeing, he has committed himself 100% to achieving as near perfection in this performance as he possibly could. Having something just all right isn't good enough for Father Michael. He has really given himself wholeheartedly to everything that has been concerned with the production. From the minutest detail, he has been involved. I thank him most sincerely for his dedication, his work which has really proved to be justified in the magnificent show which we have enjoyed. Thank you very, very much. So hard that he had been perspiring during the performance. Now he's very particular about, what do you call them? Mingers. So as a token of appreciation from us all, I have got a large container of we'll open it later on tonight. Helped make this weekend such a successful one for us all. I thank Eric and Sheila and their many, many helpers. Well, not all that many, really. I don't know how they manage to achieve the work which they do for the college in general, the college throughout the year, and particularly in catering over this weekend. Was it 700 meals, you said, Sheila? 700 meals provided for parents and friends over this weekend. Thank you very, very much. the parents and friends of Blairs College, particularly the committee who've been working so hard for the college over my years here and working so hard for the success of our grand prize draw for the church renovation appeal. I know that Lena is here with us, and Hugh and his wife are here with us. Mr. McSherry and his wife can't be here with us as they're off in America at the moment celebrating their silver wedding, but they have booked me a booking which I've been delighted to accept to celebrate their silver wedding mass in August, near the end of August, down in their home parish. But one interesting thing, I think, about their membership of the association is that Phil and Hugh and Lena, who did such dedicated work at the time of the Blairs Review, going around each member of the hierarchy, speaking to them about the values of the junior seminary education, and at that time, not one of those parents had a boy at Blairs. Their boys decided not to go on to senior seminary, and yet those parents valued Blairs and what it was doing for the church in Scotland so much that they decided to go around each member of the hierarchy and fought a Trojan battle, really, for the college at the time of the review, and that is quite simply why we are here this evening. So thank you very, very much indeed, Lena, Hugh. Saw the photograph of the college, the Mary's College Blairs 1985. I would like Sheila and Eric and Lena and Phil and Hugh to accept one on our behalf as a souvenir of just what they have accomplished over the years. Father Michael, a kiss in the cheeks must be nicer than a kiss in the I'd better just say there will be no formal night prayers tonight. The boys have been extremely good since my news came through. And really, because of all of the work which they had to do in getting the college ready for parents coming, in preparing for the Mikado, they haven't even asked for an extra holiday. Monday is a holiday anyway, so how about Friday? Would that do? Thank you all for being such a wonderful audience. I'm sure it's given the cast great enjoyment in just performing the show for you all. So thank you again. I'll just pick up my empty case.